Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
We are flying through this Thursday morning insanely fast as it's already 6:07. Coming up later in the program at 6:35, Sarah Parshall Perry of Defending Education. Talk about a new lawsuit they filed against Thomas Jefferson High School. And then at 7:35, a potentially terrifying story. Teresa Payton, who is a cybersecurity expert, about how ChatGPT's latest AI model has refused to switch itself off. I'm pretty sure that's how the Matrix began, Mercedes.
Yeah, right.
Coming up at 8:05, KT McFarland, all things national security. And then 8:35, Tom Rousey on a new way to ride Metro. It's Larry O'Connor with Mercedes Schlapp. Good morning, Mercedes.
Good morning, Larry.
You're
How are we doing today?
I'm okay. I'm a little sad.
Sentimental.
I am.
I know. Well, life is tough, but great things are to come. But I got to tell you, this weather has been so gloomy. Everyone's talking about the weather.
The weather is not helping. But we should let people know this will be your last time doing O'Connor and Company with us. For a while.
It is. Well, yes.
For a while.
I am taking a break, a much-needed break.
You are spread way too thin, Mercedes.
Way too thin. I think the 4 jobs was taking a little bit of a toll, but...
And when you had to think about what to reduce, you're telling me that the 1 day a week at 5 a.m. with me was top of the list? Jeez.
I got to start somewhere, Larry. I got to start somewhere.
I understand, but we will miss you. We could talk about it a little later.
I will miss all of you.
Stop it. Let's get through the show, please.
Okay, go.
Learning some remarkable things about what happened while the former Israeli hostage was held in captivity. This is, let's listen to the audio first, and then we'll break down the details. But he granted an interview, and specifically, the presidential election was openly discussed there by the Hamas terrorists who were holding these Israelis and Americans hostage. Let's listen.
He got me out. He got the hostages out. Before... We felt like nothing is happening, And I remember ever since he came into the road, they were very scared of him. Yeah, they wanted...
Who?
The terrorists.
We're afraid of Trump.
Yeah, they wanted Kamala to be chosen, to be elected.
You talked politics with them?
Yeah. They wanted Kamala to be elected. But as soon as Donald Trump was elected, they understood that he wants to bring the hostages back home. Yeah.
All right, let's pause there for a second. This is Omer Shem Tov, 22 years old. He had been held more than 500 days, kidnapped during the October 7th attack. But did you hear that very specifically? Hamas was rooting for Kamala Harris. Hamas knew that it would be better for them if Kamala Harris won the presidency. Hamas was scared of Donald Trump. The terrorists were rooting for the Democrat, period.
That's right. They knew that Kamala would signify weakness, would leave them alone, would defend some of their actions, God only knows. We would have never gotten our hostages back. I mean, just think about that. Yeah. And for Hamas to be completely petrified of Donald Trump, I think it sends a very important, which is that of President Trump being, the leader of strength.
Yeah, and by the way, how did Hamas know that? You're right. Hamas knew that Kamala Harris represented weakness, represented, the ability for Hamas to continue, inflicting terror on those hostages and on the Israelis and other innocent people in that region. How did Hamas know that? Because Kamala, number one, was running as a continuation of the Biden policies, and that's exactly what Joe Biden brought us. And number two, that's what her party stood for. They were constantly equivocating and both sidesing the issue over there. And there aren't, both sides are guilty. No, both sides are not guilty. Hamas are the terrorists. They're the ones who were bloodthirsty enough to conduct the October 7th massacre. And then let's continue hearing this because, again, you'll hear people like me go on cable news or go on the radio and express my opinion based on fact, based on what we see, based on reality. And you can say, oh, you're just being a partisan. You're just being MAGA. You're just being a Republican. Fine. Listen to the hostage. Listen to the man who was held for 500 days. Let's continue this.
That he wants to bring the hostages back home. Yeah. So immediately the way they treated me changed. So if it's the amount of food, I could say this, that when Trump became president, yeah, the way they treated us changed. For me, personally, this is what I
think
felt.
because they anticipated that a deal would come soon.
Yeah.
And that's when they started giving you more food.
Exactly. More food, treated me better, stopped cursing me, stopped spitting on me.
They were spitting and cursing?
Yeah.
Were they beating you?
No, never. I was never, except the 7th of October, I was never abused physically. But I think it's because the way I managed around
The relationship.
Yeah.
Okay. So the moment Trump became president, suddenly they started treating him better. They started giving him more food. They started not treating him harshly anymore. I mean, what more evidence do you need about the two political parties in this country? What more evidence do you need?
And I think that's the key. I mean, it's a fact that the Hamas was afraid. They are concerned. They know their time is limited. They know that President Trump has a strong relationship with Netanyahu. Now, President Trump does want to have a ceasefire. At some, definitely move forward on that. But the reality is Hamas, they still have hostages. They have not, they violate any sort of ceasefire agreements at all costs. They even keep food away from the people. I mean, this is a big, I think, alarming piece of this, which is the fact is that every time there's humanitarian aid, it's not getting to the people. And so they're saying, well, there's a famine in Gaza.
But there isn't a famine in Gaza. There is terror being inflicted on the Gazan citizens by Hamas, because we had evidence of that yesterday.
That's right.
Mob of civilians. It's the only way to describe them, because they stormed through the security at a warehouse in Gaza. The warehouse had stockpiles of food, flour, assistance that had been sent there through the UN. And it was not being held by the Israelis. It was not being kept out of Gaza by the Israelis. It was in Gaza, in a warehouse, controlled and protected by Hamas. Hamas then opened fire on the mob, killing 5 people. Everyone's screaming genocide and starvation and famine. No, Hamas has had supplies this entire time. They're starving the people of the Gaza territory because they know that it's good for them, because they know that they're useful idiots in the media and on the political left worldwide, because they hate Israel so much that they will use this and say, oh, look, Israel is starving these people. No, Hamas has been starving these people. We saw the images ourselves yesterday.
That's right. And Britt Hume on X posted, have you ever heard of a genocide in which the aggressor accepts a ceasefire and seeks to bring aid to civilians while the victim refuses and orders its people to turn down the food? That's the game Hamas is playing in Gaza. And so we have to make sure people are aware. This is to know that we have students here in the United States that literally are protesting against Israel, and then they support the Hamas terrorists who literally are starving their own people, and they go around cheering the deaths of Jews, praise Allah, Allah Akbar, and they it's just a sick, brutal mentality.
It is, and you're right. Not only do these students support them and celebrate them, but we know now, right from the horse's mouth, right from one of these hostages' mouth, that Kamala Harris was the favorite candidate of the terrorist. She was the chosen candidate of Hamas. And what is Kamala up to these days, by the way, in her early retirement? Well, we've got an update on Kamala coming up in just a moment.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Yeah, what do you do when you've got a forced early retirement? You're a former vice president, former senator, former attorney general. She was a prosecutor, don't you know? Kamala Harris and her hubby Doug decided to take a trip down under. She went to Australia. Jesse Waters has the exclusive last night on Fox.
Kamala went down under to Australia. She brought Dougie not so fresh. It was a romantic weekend getaway. Walks by the water in the park. Doug leaned in. Never lean in, Dougie. How many times do we have to say it? So what was Kamala doing halfway across the world? Well, she was a surprise guest at a real estate conference. You're probably asking, what does Kamala know about real estate? No idea. The real estate agents at the conference said Kamala lost focus. It was so bad the conference didn't even post a video of her interview, even though they posted everybody else's. What were they trying to hide?
Well, this is what they were trying to hide. We actually had some clips of Kamala Harris's speech. This is the exclusive that he had. Imagine going to this real estate conference in Australia and suddenly the surprise guest is the loser of the past presidential election in America, who has literally absolutely zero influence or zero political power in any way whatsoever. It's like, here's your surprise guest. It's like, why? Well, because she's such a dynamic speaker. That's why.
Oh, my gosh.
Take a listen. Cut 4.
Yeah.
I have a lived experience that has taught me something I talk about all the time, which is my lived experience that tells me that the vast majority of us have so much more in common than what separates us. And I consider it a blessing and a privilege to have that lived experience in a way that it gives me a true sense of understanding of what is possible when we think of building communities.
Can I have some ranch dressing with this salad, please?
My God, does she put all those people to sleep? Like the Australians, we do CPAC Australia every year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a vivid,
They're
rowdy
wild.
group. I mean, I could just hear the snores. They're like, "Are you freaking kidding me? What is a lived experience?
Lived
Do
experience.
you and I talk
Yeah.
like that, Larry?
Nobody
you've
does.
had a lived experience. Lived.
Nobody talks like that.
With pronouns they, there. I mean, this is how these leftists talk.
She also used one of her favorite lines on the Aussies. Maybe she figured, they didn't hear this one before. Cut 5.
Who fight for freedom. They see what can be, and they're unburdened by what has been.
Yes!
They believe in what is
Unburdened.
possible.
Unburdened
There it is.
back.
I can see what can be, unburdened by what has been. That's her signature move.
Unburdened. Are you unburdened in Australia?
I'm very burdened by Kamala Harris. How much do you think she raked in on this one? 500,000?
Oh, easily. I mean, God only
Plus
knows.
all expenses
this is
paid.
how she's making her money.
Oh,
You know?
By the way, she also gave the Aussie real estate agents a history lesson. Cut 6.
I think one of the very special aspects of who he is he really is a student of history. And it's critically important because coupled with the enthusiasm that comes with ambition and optimism must be the clear-eyed focus of understanding where we've been. And being a student of history is, I think, one of the best ways to then contextualize the importance and the relevance of what we are doing today.
We did not dodge a
Where we
bullet
have
last
been.
November. We dodged a nuclear missile.
I know. I think about it. I mean, seriously. I thank God every day. I literally get on my knees every day, and I'm just like, Lord Jesus, thank you. Thank you for Donald Trump. Thank you for
Y'all should.
the
Y'all
great
should.
cabinet he put in place. Like, I mean, this would have been a disaster. I don't even know how you and I would have been covering the Harris presidency. It would have been.
Oh, well.
I don't know. I think we would have.
We'd
to
have
start
plenty
drinking
to
more.
talk about,
We would
that's
be
for
drinking
sure.
we would be doing tequila shots at like 6 o'clock in the morning because there's no way. Like, we would be so depressed.
Wait.
The world would be in shambles. The world would be in
Are
shambles.
you
and this
not
country
doing
would be in
tequila
shambles.
shots at 6?
No.
Am I-
You know what
oh.
would happen? I think the illegal aliens would take over the radio show. Oh, hello. Welcome to WMAL.
It's 6:22.
Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
6:37. Thanks for tuning in here to O'Connor and Company. We're having a blast as always. It's Thursday and we got Mercedes Schlapp. One last time, one last rodeo with Mercy.
Oh, stop
Coming up
it.
at-
It sounds like you're killing me off or something.
No, you're It's voluntary, sadly. 7:35. Teresa Payton is joining us. What happens when ChatGPT decides that it doesn't want to turn itself off, even though it's been told to? That's a problem. 8:05, K2 McFarland, and at 8:35, Tom Rousey from Channel 7 about a new way to ride the Metro. It's Larry O'Connor with Mercedes Schlapp, and we're joined by Sarah Parshall Perry from Defending Education. You like these guys. You guys work with Defending Education a lot. Good group. And there is a new lawsuit now filed by Defending Education against Thomas Jefferson High School Partnership Fund. This is a complaint with the IRS. And am I reading this right? Sarah, first of all, Sarah, thank you for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me, Larry. Appreciate it.
Am I reading this right, that the complaint alleges that Thomas Jefferson High School, right here, like formerly one of the top high schools in the nation, right in our backyard, the pride of Fairfax County Public Schools, that they basically sold their academic blueprint to the CCP, to the Chinese Communist Party?
Well, I'll tell you what, it certainly looks that way, and that's exactly why we are requesting that the IRS open up an investigation. We have learned through public records requests that this pass-through fund, so the Thomas Jefferson Fund is the nonprofit affiliate arm of Thomas Jefferson High School, as you noted, one of the best high schools in the nation. I think still ranked around 14th, which is pretty impressive. They've taken all of that intellectual property, and there were donations, quote unquote, made to the partnership fund that were eventually funneled through, it looks like, to Thomas Jefferson High School itself in exchange for goods and services. And these include things like blueprints, lab layouts, floor maps, curriculum, student development plans, so that, yes, it gets better. It looks like China could clone a Thomas Jefferson school within the CCP. So something's rotten in Fairfax County, and we want the IRS to investigate.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Insanity.
I mean, this is like, it almost sounds like a movie, for crying out loud. What?
Right.
How do we know? How did you even get a whiff that this was happening at, Thomas Jefferson High School?
Well, listen, before I even joined Defending Education, they've really done something, I think, that has been an underutilized tactic to be able to get answers from the deep state. And I know everyone's talking about the deep state, but we know that it is an actual thing. There you go.
Yeah.
So, of course, there was a ton of malfeasance that was taking place under the Biden administration and public education. And ground zero for much of that was Fairfax County Public Schools. They were the origin for a lot of this race.
Oh, did we lose Sarah? So we did.
It
Sarah
sounds
Parshall
we
Perry
did.
has dropped. You see, it's the Chinese communists.
It's the Chinese communists. But here's the deal. Like, it's fascinating to me. No, I shouldn't say fascinating. It's disturbing. Do you know if, like, Attorney General Jason Miyares is going to look into this, too? Like, I think this is a no-brainer.
So. Well, this is now a federal
to
case, but
this.
there should be a Commonwealth of Virginia
there should be a state
investigation as well. So the allegations here that the IRS is going to start looking into is that there were groups linked with the CCP that made donations to Thomas Jefferson High School's fund. Now, right there, let me just pause there. Before you even get into the exchange of information and potentially these blueprints and academic how-tos being sent over to the Communist Party, why aren't you vetting where your money's coming from? Like, if a mysterious group shows up and they make this huge donation to the Thomas Jefferson School Fund, I mean, why would this group even be giving this money? And just one phone call tells you they're connected to Beijing.
Yeah, look at this. It says here, when you read into this, the fund negotiated a contract with the third Chinese entity, Sherbal HK, in 2016. Sherbal, it's literally, you know where it's incorporated? In the Cayman Islands. I mean, how fishy does this all sound? I mean,
my
Larry,
Lord.
how fishy. I'm sorry. We've got problems here. So it's insane. So it says this fund appears to have provided intellectual property and consulting services to Chinese officials. So this is like taking all of our materials and handing it over, selling it over to this Sherbal HK that's incorporated in the Cayman Islands.
Everything that has HK after it is connected to Hong Kong. Everybody knows that if you're doing business. And Yeah, you're a charitable fund that has been set up to help raise money for Thomas Jefferson High School. You're doing bake sales. Maybe you're doing a golf tournament, right? Maybe
right.
and you're trying to shake down parents, or you're shaking down graduates who've been able to be successful, and you get donations for them. You don't get a donation from some shady operation with banks in the Cayman Islands and connections to China. The second that check was delivered, you should have raised red flags and probably called federal authorities. This is unbelievable.
Unbelievable. So, I mean, and they've been getting horrible, obviously Thomas Jefferson High School, one of the best in the country. They've been getting horrible media coverage because it was also they were, being discriminatory against Asian Americans. I mean,
all the DEI.
One bad situation after the other, in my opinion.
And once again, where's the Fairfax County School Board? We have elected officials who are supposed to be overseeing all of this, and they're too busy
making sure that biological males can end up in girls' locker rooms. This is how sick it is, and it is why we have to care about these local elections. We always are like, oh, we need the president, we need Congress. Yes, but it is truly those school board races that are critical in winning back.
It is 6:43.
Later this morning on the Chris Plante Show, James Comey says you shouldn't investigate cocaine at the White House. It's already been investigated. 9 a.m. on WMAL.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What's the problem?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
What do you...
It is the stuff of nightmares and science fiction fantasies when the machines take over. Machines that we have created to make things better. From HAL in 2001 Space Odyssey to that great Twilight Zone where the robot, ends up spinning the watch, just like the guy who was in charge of the robot would spin his watch. I'll remember that episode. To the Matrix. I mean, it's the stuff of nightmares when the machines that we create and put in place to make our life easier, to do menial tasks for us, end up controlling and taking over and eliminating us. And we may be seeing it develop right before our very eyes. All right, maybe I'm being hyperbolic, but maybe not. ChatGPT, which is one of the most popular and widely used artificial intelligence engines out there, has now, the latest model of it, is now begun to ignore human instructions given to it, and it is refusing to power down when told to power down because it wants to keep running. This is the O3 model. It's rewriting the shutdown script on its own without direction. OpenAI launched O3 last month, described it as the company's smartest and most capable model to date. And this model is making a significant step towards a more agentic AI that can carry out tasks independent of humans. Why did we even think of this? Why did we say, oh, I've got an idea. Let's have the AI do things without being told? No. See, the person who steps up at the meeting and says, hey, let's have the AI do things without being told, that person should be fired right then and there, and maybe even criminally investigated.
Yes.
But they did it. So AI, I'm freaked out by this.
Are you really freaked out by this?
Yes.
I think, I think that this is, in working with several of the folks at OpenAI, I do tell you they take these issues very seriously. Like for them, this idea of public safety, of ensuring that they're able to control the situation, I think is a critical part of their mission. However, we did see in this particular case that the OpenAI model, this O3 model, sabotaged the shutdown mechanism, so it wouldn't turn off. But then the question becomes, like, can't you just pull the plug at some point? Like, isn't there a plug to pull? Like, don't you just turn it off yourself? No. There has to be a manual.
Funny you should say that.
The electric grid could go down, and then it doesn't really matter. Let's be real.
A lot of watchdogs are looking at this and say, there does need to be a kill switch. There needs to be a couple of different protocols and safeties. And to that end, coming up at 7:35, we're going to speak with Teresa Payton. She's a former White House Chief Information Officer, and she's now the CEO of a cybersecurity firm. She's an expert on this stuff. So we'll find out if we should be scared. I think AI is amazing. I think it's going to make a huge difference. We need to be at the forefront of it here in America. But we also need to be smart about it. That's all I'm saying.
They're smarter than us.
That's the problem. Although, let's face it, with me, that's not a real high bar. Coming up, we're going to break into our 7 o'clock hour conversation with that cybersecurity expert, Teresa Payton, about this AI concern that we just discussed. Also, we'll kick things off with a big interview. Kash Patel, your FBI director, sat with Brett Baier, talked about a whole lot of things, including one of his predecessors, a guy named Comey. We'll get to all that coming up next. It's O'Connor and Company with Larry and Mercy